Thank you, Ernesto, and the whole team at Mayahuel for that lovely introduction. Welcome all to the 7th annual Dia de los Muertos celebration at the California Museum. For those of you who have joined us in the past, the format this year may look pretty different, but the California Museum and all of our partners really wanted to hold the space and time for this joyous occasion. So since Dia de los Muertos is a time to remember our loved ones that have left this earth, we want to take a moment to remember those who have passed on this year. Thank you for taking that moment with us, and we want to dedicate all of the events today to those who have passed on. So I am thrilled to introduce my co-host, Ernesto Delgado. Ernesto is the creator, founder, and owner of Tequila Museo Mayahuel, La Concecha, and Mesa Mercado. Ernesto was born in Mexico. He was raised in Napa and is a longtime Sacramento resident. Ernesto combines his passions in life, the love and design of architecture, the rich culture and food of Mexico, and the fascinating and complex details of entrepreneurship as a restaurateur. So welcome, Ernesto. I'm so pleased to have you as my co-host.
Wow. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I've never heard anyone say it better, including myself. So thank you very much. Thank you to the audience for joining us for this amazing celebration. And I'm just ecstatic and super excited to be a co-host with you. Sean Delicio he joined the museum early on this year. He's from Oakland, California.
Yeah, I just moved from there.
Excellent. Amazing city, by the way. I'd love to visit Oakland. And Sean here, he served his community as a classroom teacher, as a community organizer. And I love reading about his passion and what he does for social justice and education. And I think the favorite part that I really, enjoyed and love reading is that you are passionate about telling stories in the community, or on maybe stories that you don't find in history books.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's so many, right?
Yes, that's, and that leads us into Dia de los Muertos. Often this holiday is misunderstood, and it's referenced many times as Day of the Dead, but the meaning of Dia de los Muertos means so much more. And I know there's a lot of students watching, so I'd like to just, say a little bit about, there's a confusion sometimes that it's related to Halloween, but has nothing to do with Halloween. It's misunderstood in many ways that way, but it's more about really honoring our past, our ancestors. Every year I create an altar for my mother. And, in my home in Napa, and we do one at the restaurant that just showcases, our past. So this altar that we currently have on Mayahuel, we're honoring my mother and one of our past chefs who left us, but we honor her every day at Mayahuel. And it's truly a way that we can celebrate her and by creating these altares and, remembering is what it's all about, in showcasing what they loved. And, today we're going to show you different types of celebrations and way to celebrate Dia de los Muertos. Starting with Maria Miranda. She is an amazing person who is really connected to the past, and she also helps move spirits and all of us into the future. So she's going to do an amazing blessing for the California Museum today. and can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
We're also gonna take you back to the kitchen at Mayahuel.
I'm very excited for
Yeah,
that.
and it really showcased, the foods. We selected two. There's obviously many foods that are uh, consumed for Dia de los Muertos and celebrated with. So we chose mole poblano
Mm,
and pan de muerto, which are two very, probably the most common dishes that are served on Dia de los Muertos. Um, we're going to take you back and show you with Chef Eduardo on how he goes about that in the restaurant.
mhm.
So again, it's amazing to be here with you, Sean.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about you and how passionate you are about social justice issues and things that help our community and educate our young ones about our past. And,
Yeah.
I love that you said, let's take a moment for our past members of life
Yeah.
and really enjoyed doing that for honoring them.
Yeah, and I'm so excited that our celebrations get to continue too. I'm thrilled to be hosting an artist panel a little bit later with some of the folks who made art for our online exhibit at the California Museum. And we're also going to be blessed by an amazing singer who is going to
Yes.
be sharing her talents with us, Dinorah Klingler, a little bit later this afternoon. But to start us off, I am honored to introduce Maria Miranda, and Maria is an indigenous elder in training. And her passion for the past 36 years has been teaching free, culturally sensitive classes and mentoring and working with At Promise Youth. She has worked to reclaim and revitalize traditional knowledge for her community, all indigenous people, and also to spread love to the human race. Thank you so much, Maria, for taking the time out of a very busy week for you to create this special message for us. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Maria. Let's give her a big virtual round of applause.
Hi, my name is Maria Miranda with Carpuli Maquilli Tonatiuh. I want to thank creation for another year, and I want to thank the California Museum for asking us, the original caretakers of our ancient traditions, to come and share with you and explain about Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is a time that we remember and that we pray for the healing of our ancestors. Dia de los Muertos originally began with a ceremony called Xocowetzi, and it's still celebrated by many traditional Aztec dance groups, which begins in September. All indigenous people listen and respect our Mother Earth. We honor the seasons and the cycles. In the fall, the fruit is done producing, and it's the time of the year that the last dried fruits and vegetables fall and die, completing another cycle of life and death. Our Nahuatl traditions regard death as a companion of life. The Maquilli, the skull, means change. It's not something to scare or to be something spooky. We respect death. Some of you ask, why do we pray for the healing of our ancestors? How do these ancient ceremonies relate to us in 2020? Let's look around us in these times that we live. All the fear, the hate, the discrimination for the color of our skin, our sexual preference, our religious and spiritual preference. So we can be free and not repeat these same errors. So we can live and love, not to carry all of this hate forward. Each and every one of you listening to this message today is extra special. And you will help us carry the message of why we celebrate Dia de los Muertos. Again, I want to thank our Calpulli Maquilli Tonatiuh, the California Museum, and all of the Sacramento community who has come together to celebrate and honor our ancient traditional ceremonies. Again, Tlazocamatli from Maria Miranda and Calpulli Maquilli Tonatiuh.
Thank you so much, Maria, for those powerful words. So Ernesto, you were telling me that Maria has done a lot of blessings for your restaurant in the past. What's that like?
Yes, when you mentioned that, I feel her blessing because she definitely, it's not just a performance.
Yeah.
It's and Maria is very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
That it's an actual danza that is for the spirits, for the past and the present and the future spirits. So, for example, she, for every restaurant that I've ever opened, she's always done a blessing, and she's included me in the blessing. And when I hear her danza, it's truly a spiritual feeling. It almost lifts me. But it's a great start of a new venture to honor our past as we move forward.
Yeah. So I'm so happy that we're able to have that message digitally available for you all. And I'm very excited to hear and experience one of her blessings in the future. Next up, Maria is going to be joining us again to explain the history and meaning behind the Aztec dancers' regalia.
So I want to explain a little bit about our regalia. What we wear is called regalia. It's not called a costume. A costume is something that you wear during Halloween. Regalia is an ancient traditional wear. And what we wear different symbols that represent whether it's the time of the year or a ceremony that we're doing. And in this case, we're celebrating Dia de los Muertos. The regalia that Francine has on is the symbol of the Maquilli. Francine is our Samadora, the sacred keeper of the fire of our Calpulli. On her regalia, she has a symbol of the Maquilli, the skull, which represents change. And coming out of the mouth of the Maquilli is a symbol of fire, water, what we are made up of. And on the top, she has a symbol of the fire, which she is a sacred fire keeper. This regalia is made one sequin at a time. Some of the regalia is also painted and with sequins, and in this case, this is what this is. What she holds in her hand is called an ayakashli, a rattle. And what she puts on her feet are called ayoyotes. Ayoyotes is a seed of happiness. So all of the dancers have symbols that mean something to them, or again, like I said, the ceremony. And what we wear on our heads is called a copili. A copili is in honor of all of our relations that fly the wing. And so when we wear this, our copilis, we honor them. All of our feathers, we do not kill any animals to receive any of our feathers or any of our regalia that we wear. We also blow the atecocoli. We blow the atecocoli because it's a healing vibration that we send out as well. And so this is our regalia. We're going to close now with our ancient prayer, acknowledging the four elements and the four sacred directions. We're going to show you the permiso, the permission, when we begin. The first step that you'll see is a symbol of fire. We honor the fire, we respect the fire. Then the next part of the dance will be water. Like a river doesn't go straight, a river goes zigzag. So when we go to the sides, that represents water. And air doesn't blow straight, it blows in whirlwinds. And so when we turn, that's representing the air. And then the last part that we do, we are honoring Mother Earth with our taps on our feet to the four sacred directions. So you'll be seeing Francine and I do that for you. Again, Tlazocamatli, from Calpulli, Maquilli, Tonatiuh, Ometea.
Thank you so much again, Maria, for your powerful and beautiful words too. I feel like, the way you spoke about these traditions really does honor what this holiday is all about. And I'm so happy that you're able to share your wise words with us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's definitely, noticeable how it's, she mentioned the idea that it's not a costume.
Yeah.
I really, enjoyed listening to the idea that, their entire dress has meaning, and it's for respecting the past as well as honoring it. And I think that's the important message for our young people today, is truly to, learn about the past, and,
Yeah.
and it could just help us move forward, to our future.
Yeah, we can always look to the past for a lot of lessons and use those lessons to move forward. So thank you again, Maria. I really appreciate your words.
Gracias, Maria.
So I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little hungry. How about we head over to your restaurant? Honestly, Ernesto, one of my favorite parts of any celebration is the food because I feel like it tells you so much about the culture that celebrates, as well as the people and the ways that they interact with the ingredients and the natural resources around them. So, can you tell me what are some of your favorite foods that have significance for Dia de los Muertos?
Yeah, and in every culture, food, brings everyone together.
Yeah.
And it's really the element of family uh, in every culture. And in speaking of Dia de los Muertos, and in my past, one of the reasons I chose mole was because that was the number one dish that my mother made for me. And I feel that every time I, enjoy and eat a beautiful dish of mole, it reminds me of my mother.
Yeah.
And it's truly why I love, food so much, and why I love cooking, and why my my life revolves around food.
Yeah.
Because again, it's how you celebrate life, and in Dia de los Muertos, that's what we do. We celebrate life with music, song, flowers, um, and I keep going back to food, and
Yeah.
another dish
Me too.
that's very prominent to Dia de los Muertos is pan de muerto. It's a traditional bread that is served for Dia de los Muertos, and it's very unique because it has these little huesitos that are like translates to bones, and
Oh, I
they're
see.
on top. There's different recipes, but we'll show you the one that we make.
Yeah.
And again, this celebration is a lot of it is about food.
Yeah.
And in the idea that I'm used mole to honor my mother,
Mhm.
and that's what it's about.
And that's such a beautiful thing too. And I'm so thrilled that you are having us over to your restaurant, which is only a few blocks away from the California Museum. Mayahuel has partnered with the California Museum every year that we've had this event. So it's such a special thing that you're back with us. And Ernesto, can you tell me a little bit more about the chef that will be cooking for us?
Well, like you said, every year we try to outdo ourselves, and there's nothing more complex than making mole. It's as I explained in the video, it's chaotic almost because of all the ingredients, but again, somehow it's magical, just like Dia de los Muertos. It all comes together to create this delicious, beautiful sauce that represents our past. Dates back to the Aztec times, and it's truly a dish that's representative of our culture and of celebrations, and specifically to Dia de los Muertos. Because I know my mother made it almost on every holiday. And if you ask her what my favorite dish is, and she would probably tell you
She knows.
that. Yeah. So when we create an altar for her, we always make sure that we include a big pot of mole.
Yeah.
And you asked about the chef as well. Chef
Yeah.
Eduardo Garcia, amazing man, amazing man. And one of the reasons we chose pan de muerto was because of our chef. He used to be a bread maker.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, and as I said in the video, he definitely knows how to handle some dough. So in the video, you'll see him making the pan de muerto, and it's truly it's enjoyable and exciting to see it being made, because you can see he knows how to make pan de muerto.
Yeah. Well, why don't we head on over there and let's meet the chef.
Yes. Hello everyone, I'm Ernesto Delgado from Mayahuel, and today I'm here to talk to you about Dia de los Muertos. Every year we do an event in partnership with the California Museum, and this year we are proud to show you how to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, from showing you amazing altares to the food, the music. We're going to try and do it all this year through this video and different educational versions of how we make pan de muerto, how we make our mole, and really celebrate Dia de los Muertos to honor our past and our loved ones. So I hope you enjoy it, and salud. Before we actually take you into the kitchen, I'd like to show you the ingredients to the pan de muerto, the ingredients to mole poblano. Everything you see here is all the ingredients that you would use to create mole poblano, but I'll explain that more in detail in the kitchen. And here's some of the ingredients to the pan de muerto. Obviously is the flour. You can use bread flour, all-purpose flour, butter, eggs, the zest of the oranges. We use this orange blossom water, sugar, salt, yeast, and this is pan de muerto. Now, follow me into the kitchen. And before we actually get into the process, I'd like to talk to you about one of our murals. This is a mural I'm proud of that, showcases Dia de los Muertos. It actually shows the culture of Mexico. When we actually first put up this mural, it was amazing on the response that it got, because it represents Mayahuel with an offering, and it represents everything that Dia de los Muertos is. Here you can see Mayahuel showcasing and offering a dish that's very prominent to Mexico, Mexican culture, and Mexican Independence Day. It's the chile poblano that's known as chile en nogada. It's actually one of my favorite recipes, one of the dishes that I'm so proud to serve here at Mayahuel during the months of September, October, and November. It's definitely a seasonal dish because of the pomegranate. Has white walnut sauce, and the green. All these colors represent the colors of the flag. But now let's go and see all about the mole. All right, here we go. All the ingredients to mole poblano. Mole is such a complex dish. As you can see, it's very, the ingredients, it's almost chaotic, but somehow when it all comes together, it's a magical sauce that goes back to the ancient times of the Aztecs. So I'm gonna start, with these ingredients here. We got the sesame seed, raisins, almonds, pumpkin seeds, pecans. This is peanuts. We have the bread that we toast and fry. We have the plantains, the famous abuelita chocolate. Mexican food is all about the white onion. These are two of our chiles we use here. This is the chile negro. You can tell it's different from the pasilla. It's a little bit darker in color, but it's also longer. This is after we deseeded it, of course. But again, you can see the difference. The chile negro has a little bit more oil. Over here, we have the whole cloves, the cinnamon, peppercorn, tomatoes, the garlic, chicken consomme, and of course, the tortilla, which we turn into a tostada after it's toasted. So we take all of these ingredients and toast them. And we got the chocolate here. It's been it's been sitting in warm water for about 20 minutes. Here at Mayahuel, we like to use the chocolate abuelita, just because the chocolate abuelita, you know, it is sweet, has lots of sugar, but it gives it that real sweetness to the mole. But it also talks about tradition. Everybody knows chocolate abuelita, but this is a process we do for the chocolate, so it's truly like a family affair here at Mayahuel. The kitchen here is a machine, as I like to call it. This Chef Eduardo here, he controls and runs the cocina here at Mayahuel, and it's amazing the production that we do here. So now we're gonna add the hot water. So, ya todos a pelar chiles. Sí, es para el mole. This is the chile pasilla. We also do use the chile negro for our mole. And this is the process we go through, deseeding the chiles. You can see we just take off the stem, deseed the chile, and you can see the chile is very oily. This is where the flavor comes out of. The more oil, the better. Mole is it's an amazing, chaotic list of ingredients, but somehow Enrique Olvera explains it best. It just all comes together, and somehow it's magical. It's a really magical paste that you know started in the ancient days with the Aztecs. But there you go, those are our ingredients. So we're gonna start the process in toasting, frying. Mole poblano is all about frying and toasting all these ingredients to create that complex flavor. So now we're gonna toast the chiles. Just till they soften up. So you're typically gonna, toast these fairly quickly. You saw it's about a couple minutes that we toasted the chiles. Now we're gonna do, as soon as he cleans it up here. Now you follow me, we're gonna go ahead and add the hot water. It's really what softens it up and it makes it pliable. So you can see the difference really now in the pasilla and the chile negro. So here you can see the chiles being soaked. We soak them for about 30 minutes. As they're getting softer, the oils are starting to come out, and that's truly where the flavor's at. All right, now we're gonna go start the whole process. She's gonna start roasting and frying. Mole is all about roasting and frying all the ingredients. She's gonna start with the jojolí. Gracias. Sí, dele, ya. Okay, now we're going to show you our beautiful presentation that we do here at Mayahuel. Chef Eduardo here is going to plate. As you can see, we have our beautiful presentation of our actual dish here at Mayahuel. It's our poblano, mole poblano. It's a favorite amongst our guests. It's probably one of the most ordered. It's a beautiful presentation due to its pyramid, just symbolizing Mexico and its history, along with the stewed chicken that we cook, simmer in a chicken stock, as well as vegetables. But here, let me get the mole, and Chef Eduardo's gonna go ahead and plate it. Now, doesn't that look so enticing? It's a perfect dish for Dia de los Muertos celebration. Historically, that's what's served. So this is why for this amazing annual event we do with the California Museum, obviously it's hard to beat an amazing mole. So now we're going to show you the process of how Chef Eduardo makes our pan de muerto here. Here's all of our ingredients. You'll find, there's different dry yeast. There's orange blossom water. These are a little difficult to find sometimes, but you also can see flor de naranja. Either of these will work. You can see it set up here, but he'll go ahead and show us now how he does that. So he has the flour on the table. He's added the salt. He's going to add the sugar, the dry yeast, going into the water with the orange blossom water, the milk, going into the eggs, and again, remember the recipe, you can download it, Zoom chat. Now he did the eggs going into the butter. And really mixing the butter with the egg and the egg yolk. And slowly, as he's mixing them, he'll start bringing in the flour. As we're getting into the orange zest. This is a real key element flavor to the flavor of the pan de muerto, and really it's the Dia de los Muertos holiday. It's all about the color of orange and that flavor of the orange, and it just goes to the flowers and to when you go to the panteones. That's what you see. You see a lot of the color orange, very prominent in Dia de los Muertos. But as you can see, he's slowly working the flour, all the ingredients together to create that special masa that creates the pan de muerto. Yeah, so remember the orange zest is, just remember to use very sweet, ripened orange with lots of color. It's the best way to get um, the right flavor and the right time when the orange is at its peak. As you can see, it's starting to kind of come together. So for those of you who don't know, Chef Eduardo was actually a bread maker. So he's definitely, as you can see, he definitely knows how to handle some dough. You can see how it's becoming less and less sticky. From here, we'll let it rest. We'll put it in the fridge to cool. And then later on, we'll show you how to make the bones that go on top, put it in the oven and bring it out. So this is the process to making the dough. And it's truly an amazing celebration of Dia de los Muertos to create pan de muerto. So thank you to Chef Eduardo. As you can see, definitely knows how to handle some dough. So now he's gonna make individualized, make smaller, divide the dough into equal 4 pieces. Now he's brushing on the egg it'll help brown the dough in the oven. And he's making the little bones, which are known as the huesitos. So now we're gonna allow them to rest for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna take them into the oven and for about 30 minutes. Thank you for joining us on this amazing journey of Dia de los Muertos here at Mayahuel in partnership with the California Museum. I truly enjoy celebrating Dia de los Muertos. It's my favorite holiday because it involves food, culture, art, and it's truly a fascinating holiday that represents the culture of Mexico. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, don't forget to come visit us at Mayahuel. It's truly where you can experience this great mole and this pan de muerto during the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. I hope you enjoyed it, and I truly hope you enjoy this beautiful Dia de los Muertos celebration that's dear to me and my culture. Salud! Gracias, everyone. Thank you so much. Feliz Dia de los Muertos. From Team Mayahuel. Thank you all. Salud. Feliz Dia de los Muertos. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was really great to see you in your natural environment. I could tell how much joy it brings you to be in the kitchen and sharing your culture through the food.
Well, hopefully now you know how to make mole.
I mean, I think I could give it a try, but it won't be as good.
It's an amazing, amazing process. But now we're gonna get into the amazing work, of our artists and of the Dia de los Muertos exhibit that you can also look review at the CaliforniaMuseum.org site. So let's check that out.
All right, welcome back. Next up, we are thrilled to have artists join us from all over the state to talk about what Dia de los Muertos means to them and also how it's inspired their work. This panel has worked with a variety of medias, creating things as small as postcard-sized prints and large as wall-sized murals. Next, I am excited to introduce you to all the artists that are joining us today. First up, we have Professor Francisco Franco. Francisco has been joining us has been painting for the past 20 years. He is an accomplished muralist, and Francisco's work adorns public and private spaces all across Northern California. Currently, you can see one of his murals on the patio at Chacho's restaurant in Morgan Hill. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Francisco.
Hello, how are we doing? Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Awesome, I'm doing great. Thank you. Very happy to be part of the show.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. All right, so our next artist is Oscar Magallanes, and Oscar's art is influenced by his upbringing in Los Angeles. He uses his art to examine the parallel existence of those affected by institutional racism, which prevents their full participation in US society and challenges who is thought of as American. In 2017, Oscar curated 2 exhibits for the Getty's Pacific Standard LALA. Thank you so much for joining us, Oscar.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. So our next artist joining us is an Arizona native and longtime Sacramento resident, John Huerta. John combines his John first became interested in Dia de los Muertos when his mother and sister passed away over 20 years ago. He combined his art skills that he learned in school and the beauty of Dia de los Muertos to find comfort in their passing. John's work is vibrant and colorful, and you could see one of his pieces at Placita MX in Midtown Sacramento, which is right outside of his shop. And it's a giant 39-foot mural of Frida Kahlo. So thank you so much for joining us, John.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So next up, we have San Diego artist David Lozeau. David's quirky style blends Mexican folk art, 1950s cartoon animation, and tattoo design. David has found remarkable popularity and commercial success with Dia de los Muertos art, winning him a commission with Fender for a special edition Stratocaster. And it's also brought him partnerships with Disney and Harley Davidson. Thank you so much for joining us as well, David.
Thanks for having us, guys. I appreciate being here.
And last but certainly not least, we have Sacramento artist Robbo. You know, the museum's Dia de los Muertos celebration actually began through conversations with Rob in 2015. And Rob has embraced Dia de los Muertos after his mother passed. And he found that celebrating her life through the ancient traditions was able to help him begin his healing process. He chooses to honor her memory by making sugar skulls. And today, he creates elaborate sugar skulls and also hosts workshops for young people to continue the Mexican traditions. So thank you so much, Robbo, for joining us as well.
Thank you. Very excited about this.
All right, so we have a great panel with us today. And I have a few questions to ask you all, and I would just love to hear you speak openly about it and hear some of your opinions. So we have some artists that are joining us from many different places and representing a variety of backgrounds. So I want to ask, what does Dia de los Muertos mean to you, and how has it inspired your art?
Who are you asking first?
Let's go. Well, since you started speaking, Francisco, would you mind going first?
I knew that was going to happen. So the question was, what does Dia de los Muertos mean to me, and how does it inspire my artwork?
Absolutely.
I think for me, it's healing, right? And it's connecting with your ancestors. You know, I'm thinking about the tradition. They used to believe that our ancestors or some people still do believe that our ancestors are nearest to us during this week of Dia de los Muertos, which is really kind of a change in the solstice and meaning that it's time for us to, it's wintertime basically. And so it's connecting with that. So for me, it means family, connecting with the wisdom and the traditions of the past of my own ancestors. As far as how it inspires my work, for me, it's very healing. We've all lost someone that we've loved and cared for. It's inevitable. And I think that it offers us a chance to connect with tradition, but also heal through that tradition, connect with those ancestors that you have lost. And all those things kind of inspire my art, right? Because my art, I feel like it comes out of a kind of a PTSD, kind of idea. And I think that we all suffer from losing people that we love, and also thinking about our own mortality. So it's very inspiring. It's also inspiring for me to kind of tease death, right? Make fun of death a little bit by having fun with it, right? So that also is kind of an inspiration. I like fraternizing with death in a way. So for me, being able to inspire people that way and the way I am is basically how I use it. And again, like a memento mori kind of reminder of death kind of concept. So I love those ideas, and I love to share those ideas, and people really take one of them. So that's what it's about for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love that you commented on like the duality of the festivities itself, because I think there's definitely many ways we could look at it. I'd like to turn it over to Oscar next. Oscar, go for it.
Yeah, a lot of it is the same thing that Francisco was talking about, right? It's a time to reflect on those that we've lost, traditions that we've had for thousands of years as well, but also the way that it's influenced my work. A lot of it has to do also with a lot of the pre-Columbian kind of texts and codices, things like that. Not just traditions, but also some of the actual artwork, being heavily influenced by the graphic work that they use. And so this idea of also of time, right? The way that time is interpreted, and not just thinking about things in this kind of linear way, but thinking about things through cycles and how our ancestors kind of lived through it. So that I think I try to use a lot within the artwork that I do. Also, this collapsing of centuries of time and connecting histories the way that we do when we talk about our ancestors.
Thank you, Oscar. And John, would you like to speak to this question?
Yeah, of course. Well, I started doing the Day of Muertos close to 15, 16 years ago. It basically what it is, it was a healing process, and pretty much what I put in my paintings, not only vibrant colors and details, but the inspiration that I have, especially with my sister and my grandmother raised me. And plus, like a professor in universities or teacher in grade school, anybody who inspired me in any way, I put them into my composition. It's really important to continue the tradition of respecting loved ones that passed, and also to remember them. I always have a year-round a friend in my house, for the family members, but also and one thing I love the most is with the pieces of work that I have here at the shop, I enjoy when people really enjoy the pieces and they kind of bring a smile to them, and then kind of not really understand why I do it. And I'm more than happy to explain what it means to me and how I got into it, but the beauty of it. So that's really important to carry that on and on.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Next, I'd like to turn it over to David. David, would you like to share?
Definitely. And those guys really summed up some of the great reasons why we do what we do. I think for me, coming from a different culture and not being exposed to this till late in life, till about 20 years ago, basically, I grew up on the East Coast. So to come out to the West Coast and be amazed by this ability to talk about loved ones lost, and where my culture grew up, we didn't talk about this. You talk about them at the wake, maybe a couple in passings at holidays, but you don't have a set time to hear the small details about their life, the intricacies, the foods, the flavors, the sounds, things that are missed that just keep them alive. I was just so inspired by that. I was jealous that I didn't have something like that to remember, that I'd lost these bits and pieces of my own, of my family, because I didn't have a way to remember them. It just inspired me in my work and gave me direction that I basically have followed since day one with art for me. It's the core of my pieces. I bounce around to all different subject matters, but that idea of remembrance and celebration of life is really the core and something that powers me through.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think you talked a lot about the interest in the specifics about someone's life that often get overlooked. I think it's such a great way to honor the person as a whole. And, I think through all of your work, we really see that. So lastly, but again, certainly not least, Robbo, can you share a little bit with us too?
They've answered all the, they did
what
the
those
hard
guys
part.
said.
Well, I concur.
Ditto.
And stuff. These guys knocked it out. I just do the clip.
All right, Rob, I'm going to come to you first on the next one.
Oh, no.
Oh, now you're screwed.
All right, so our next question is, how does your family and community celebrate Dia de los Muertos? And Rob, would you like to start us off?
How does our family celebrate? Well, we all get together, but in the 30 days before that, the house is crazy. We're making sugar skulls, getting ready for events just to go around and celebrate it with Northern California folks. And when it comes down to it, we actually are able to all get together, build the altars, we decorate some sugar skulls, and just have a really good time. I mean, it just helped me get through it with my mom. And now I'm real passionate and believe about it a lot.
Thank you, Rob. How about you, David? What do you do with your family?
I'm kind of the only one out here where I live in the West Coast. So basically my house, I have altars, for my family, for my pets, all throughout the house during this time. And I also am active in, I live near Oceanside, and they have a Day of the Dead festival that they've had for years. So I do all the art for that. I'm active and on the panel and on the committee for it. So that's my really way to get in touch and kind of give back. And they let me share almost. I feel privileged to be able to share in this amazing tradition that is not mine, but they're so welcoming, from the way they treat me in Oceanside to my trips to Mexico. The entire celebration and culture has been so welcoming to me. I feel like it's just my duty to take part and try and give back as much as I can.
Thank you so much, David. All right, let's pass it over to John.
Well, basically, I'm pretty much like the busiest month of the year, but unfortunately with the COVID-19, a lot of the events have been canceled. So at this point,
Mm.
it's celebrating with my family. Unfortunately, my family are in Phoenix, but they pretty much have an altar up with the Love Past ones on there. And even pets, speaking of pets, David, thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, it's just important that, like I said, I keep my friend up all year. I mean, I'll add pictures when, loved one or someone's passed away, and it just kind of gives respect and memories of them. But yeah, I'll be like doing like here in the shop. Thank God I have a shop here, but I'm gonna be cutting mask, doing new artwork. I just finished a piece this morning, and just continuing on and just have like a flow of inspiration. At the one point, right after the shutdown, of course, that kind of put it to a halt. But now it's just coming in and coming in. But yeah, usually I communicate with my sister and Phoenix, and we just kind of like, okay, what kind of picture you want on your altar, and going back and forth. But yes, it's really important.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a very important point. Obviously we're all living through a pandemic right now.
Yep.
So these celebrations may look very different.
Yes.
But it's inspiring to hear you talk about how you're able to continue on with the traditions, even though it might look a little different this year.
Yeah.
How about for you, Oscar? What does it look like for you this year?
I'm lucky to be out here in LA, and there's always a large community celebration with self-help graphics, which I see was included also with the virtual exhibit. So I've worked with them for many years, and lucky to see a big celebration that they do in Grand Park, which this year also includes a lot of great people who do community altars. People that are involved this year, or some of the altars that are included this year include the Esparzas. Ofelia Esparza is a big one of the most important altar makers in the country. Has been doing it for many decades, and the family has taken on those traditions as well. And they've been working with self-help graphics for a long time. So they're one of the main community altars. But there's also Black Lives Matters LA, who's doing an altar. There's also altars for people who have passed away in detention centers. So there's a lot of great work that's going on that crosses over into the community activism that's really active here in LA.
Yeah. It's great to hear you start talking about some of these themes. In one of our later questions, we're going to be talking a little bit more about social justice. And I'd love to hear about some of those community efforts that are happening down in LA within your own community. But before we do that, I'd like to turn it over to Francisco. Francisco, I think you're on mute right now.
Okay, so like John said, this month is usually the busiest month. We're doing festivals. I'm usually organizing art events where we host different Dia de los Muertos artists. We have like an artist colony that we do in this event called Dia San Jose in downtown San Jose. So a lot of time goes into that. There's a lot of events. What we've been doing, I mean, I like to keep an ofrenda, like an altar, going all year, but I've actually been taking them down now so that we could kind of do like a Christmas tree with my daughter now. So just like you would decorate a Christmas tree with my daughter, we actually put together an ofrenda, and then I get to really introduce her to, her grandparents and people who have passed away. So there's photos there to work with, and try to keep it as close to tradition as we can. I didn't used to do this growing up as a kid. I didn't know about the Dia de los Muertos tradition until like I was an older adult. We didn't celebrate. Well, at least my family did, not from that part of Mexico. And so it's really fresh for us. We try to keep it festive and yeah. But right now, and then we do stuff with the California Museum. We usually do an altar for an ofrenda for an important California figure with you guys. That's always fun. It takes up quite a bit of time. But again, just a time of remembrance, maybe make some pozole, have the family over, go through photo albums. Right now that this whole COVID thing is down, we're kind of indoors now, and we're kind of forced to be with loved ones more, which is awesome. I mean, so long as none of us get sick and die, I think we'll look back maybe at this time as a good time that we're here close with family, And then again, that the over 200,000 deaths due to COVID, I mean, it really makes you reflect on what's important. And I think more than ever, I feel like this Dia de los Muertos holiday season, it's taking on more profound meaning because it's around us right now. The plague, the kind of plague that we got going. So it's huge. Yeah. So right now, just kind of sheltering down, holding it down, but at the same time, really trying to make something special out of this Dia de los Muertos, because you never know when, it's just it's nice to do that with family.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm doing it now.
Yeah, I
Making
think
paintings.
I think you're completely right. Like, this year, the script was completely flipped on us, right?
Right.
Typically, you all would be joining us in person, and we'd have these beautiful altars that you put together. And unfortunately, we can't have that in person, but we're still so thrilled to have you all share your art with us.
Makes you appreciate what we do as a group
Mhm.
a lot more, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
we're hoping that sometime very soon that we can all get back together and keep doing what we're doing, right?
That's sir. Yes, sir.
So our next question is, how do you choose the subjects of your pieces? Are there certain symbols that have special meaning to you that you like to include? And let's start with John this time. Let's go middle
Okay.
out.
All right. Well, basically, pretty much my compositions are pretty bright, and I lately been putting in like different insects, like butterflies and dragonflies, because I totally believe, like for example, my grandmother loved dragonflies, and I remember one time I was standing outside getting a rest from one of the retail stores I was working at, and it was kind of like a very frustrating day, and all of a sudden I saw this dragonfly kind of just flying in front of me, like it was just sitting there or just hanging there, and all of a sudden I put my hand out, and it landed on my hand and then flew away. And I go, okay, Ma, I hear you, I see you, trying to uplift my spirit, because it's pretty much, when you work in retail, it basically sucks. But fortunately, I don't do that anymore. But yeah, but pretty much I use people inspired, like again, like people inspired me. Like the latest piece is actually inspired by my sister Nellie, but I call her, well, her name is Cornelia, and I, in the composition, I put in a butterfly. It kind of represents loved ones that passed or who love butterflies, and which is the piece behind me right here.
Oh, wow.
So that one I just finished like 2 hours ago. So, so it was always a last minute thing. But yeah, it's kind of not only same, plus, I do like what Jimi Hendrix and Selena and Prince and Jenny Rivera, all this different type, like the music and stuff. And people ask me, oh, I can do like Jim Morrison and stuff like that. Well, it's on my list. But, but it's really important that I put a piece of someone who I miss, who inspired me in my pieces. And also the symbols of, like I said, dragonflies, ladybugs, and all that stuff. That just represents different, different spirits to me, anyways. So that's.
Well, thank you for sharing your
Anything else?
That's very impressive.
Hold on, let me clean the brush.
Yeah.
David, would you like to go next?
Sure. For me, I paint so many different genres. I tend to be less of the traditional, the Sacred Hearts and that kind of stuff. I love to do them. But for me, I find myself kind of an intermediary between two cultures. So for me, it's kind of taking the best part of Dia and taking that imagery and infusing it into other cultures. I've done Asian inspired work, nautical, Western, more traditional, Catholic, religious, darker stuff like that. And it's kind of taking all those pieces and using the same tools, the remembrance, the colors, the pageantry of Dia de los Muertos, and kind of taking it in a new way and exposing it to cultures and people who wouldn't normally see it. Some of my military pieces, they're ways to show people this idea of remembrance in a somewhat traditional way they haven't seen. So for me, I've always kind of been an intermediary. As life's gone on and things like, the movies Coco and Book of Life have come out, I don't need that speech as much, but for a long time, I was just the strange guy in the corner painting skulls for years. So, as people have become more aware of what these things are, I just find myself more and more wanting to expose it and be an ambassador, to people who haven't seen this before. We're very lucky. I mean, all of us in Southern California and Arizona, we've seen this imagery before, but, as you go farther and farther into the country, it's not. So, the skull has been something on a poison label that they've seen growing up. So to take that and explain the celebration, the happiness, to do all that, all these different genres that I paint kind of give me these different tools to expose people to things they may not know or understand, but in ways that they appreciate.
Cool. Thank you, David. Oscar, can you share a little bit about us with the symbols with us too?
Yeah, definitely. Again, most of my work deals with iconography. So really it's how we develop meaning, how we perceive shapes and colors. And so a lot of it draws from everything from pre-Columbian all the way to popular culture. So when it comes to Dia de los Muertos, usually I try to work with iconography of people who have really inspired me, artists like Lujan. I did an altar for him, which I still have here in the studio. But being able to take some of the iconographies and kind of draw this kind of genealogy, this lineage of where a lot of this iconography first came from, or people who made it popular, or who really were champions for like Chicano artwork that began to popularize some of these imagery back in the 70s, and also going all the way back to pre-Columbian text. So that's a lot of the inspiration for the work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oscar. So next, Rob, I know that you use a very different medium than a lot of the other artists who are joining us today. So I'm curious, how do you incorporate a lot of those symbols into your art to make them, stand out and pop as much as you do?
I just find stories. I'm just inspired by people. People come to me and they'll commission pieces for their loved ones. And so that's kind of how my subject comes around. And so what usually happens is I'll have a meeting with the families or the loved ones, and we talk about that person that's passed on, or their favorite stuff, their favorite colors, flowers they like, just all about that person. And I'll have pictures of that person in my studio. And I don't start on a piece for probably a good 30 days because I just need to kind of digest what's been given to me from the family. And then from there is where it just kind of starts to come together. That's kind of how I do commission stuff with people, because I really get a good feel for it. And it's something that just takes a lot of time. And then the other stuff is just from stories that I hear that I want to kind of maybe add something to it, or add my twist to it of how I kind of see it, and go from there. That's pretty much how stuff I like. I mean, I like the Aztec calendar, but that was a real difficult one because you can't veer much from it because it needs to look exactly like it. So you find out ones you like and ones you don't really care for. You're like, that was more difficult to even bother with.
Thank you so much, Rob. And Francisco, how about you?
I'm kind of weird about how I let imagery, I guess symbols come to me. That was the question, right? How they inspire.
Yeah.
I always feel like the universe is kind of throwing some stuff at me. Like right now it's been butterflies, because one of my daughter's science projects at home was, we start off with a little egg and it ended up being this butterfly. So I learned, I learned more about the Dia de los Muertos tradition as well. I didn't know that the monarch butterflies represented, and around this time of year, they all return to Mexico, thousands of them. And Michoacan is one of the areas. And that symbolizes the return of your ancestors. So I didn't know that. So it's just, I've been trying to incorporate. I mean, you see them all the time, but I didn't know it correlated directly that. So it's literally a symbolic. And then you see the orange, they're orange, obviously. And you see the orange from the flowers, right? The marigolds that you got behind you. And, I just make associations like that with colors, but also the same thing with Oscar, bringing pre-Columbian. I have very pop sensibilities, but I like to tie them together with pre-Columbian imageries and ideas. So I like to really blend those two worlds together in a way to create something new or different that maybe, we haven't seen before. Also, people's stories, if especially me, I do celebrities here and there, and their stories are almost myth, right? They're almost like the saints of old, and because we know all about them. Why, we don't even know, but we're obsessed with these people. And so there's those stories of tragedy, of dying young, and those kinds of things will kind of speak to, just tragic stories. A lot of them really speak to me, and I'll kind of pull symbolism from maybe their lives and blend it with some other symbolism that I feel is kind of speaking to me. And sometimes if it all sounds and feels right, then it turns into a painting for me. That's my approach and how I get. But again, learning about the traditions and then studying other artists and being inspired by, like, the list of artists, my peers, right? All you guys here. So yeah, I steal from you guys all the time. So thank you. I play off you guys. It's a very different thing.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, other artists, I get inspired by them. I feel like we're having a dialogue sometimes visually, So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the monarch butterflies and what they represent. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. One thing that David said actually made me think of a question. So I want to open it up to everyone. You mentioned with Coco coming out recently and the Book of Life, there's there's a lot of Dia de los Muertos that has, found some commercial success. How do you feel like that's impacted your work? And, how do you ground it back in cultural significance to make sure you're sharing the message of your community and the Dia de los Muertos traditions? Does anyone want to lead us off?
So are you asking if Coco has kind of made it too mainstream? Is that what I'm?
I mean, I'm just wondering how it has impacted your work, with that.
I mean, there's a good and bad with. I feel like it because, a lot of us here were vending and talking to our fans and stuff pre and post that movie. And now it's funny to see, oh, it's like Coco, you know what I mean? And at the same time, like, I was doing this way before that movie came out. But then again, it's a reference point for a whole world of people who would have never have understood it. So I don't have to explain the Dia de los Muertos story over and over to everybody I see, all that, which is something that we do when we're communicating with our fans, especially at these events. I'm sure you guys, it's part of what we do is share this culture with other and educate people. But so there's a two-edged sword of that, but to have them already have a basis for that is pretty awesome. But I don't, as long as they realize that there's a deep tradition to them, that's not just a cartoon or a passing thing that's something that's cool and hip right now, but something that's really embedded in our culture. You know what I mean? But I love that it's our culture, right? It's culture. Culture is meant to be shared, right? It's like I love what Dave does, Dave Lozeau, because he struggles with bringing those two roles. But that to me is what is beautiful about what he's doing, because he's bringing that culture into a whole nother audience who might have never seen it before. And I think the more people that can connect to this, I mean, we're all humans, right? And the more we can connect to this tradition, the more healing it would be, the more we can, the more you'll want to be involved, the more you'll love us, and the more we'll we get to share, our way of living with everybody else. And then it becomes the norm with the rest of humanity. So just connecting with humanity, I think, in that way. So again, that's my opinion.
Yeah, thanks for speaking to that.
I think he covered almost all of it, and I think for us,
they did a good job.
Yeah,
they brought in the right people.
Yeah, and I think for us, it obviously on a baseline, like you said, it makes it so much easier. People have a starting point for the art. They've seen this before, and now, but the pressure and part of that other side of this double-edged sword he was talking about is, as an artist, there's more challenge, because you can't just paint Sacred Hearts anymore. You have to explore more. I kind of tried that. I kind of felt like this was going to happen when I started doing this. And again, it came with walking two cultures like I do. I didn't want to ever feel like I was doing a disservice or poaching or not being truthful or honest to the art. So I try to avoid the more traditional stuff. And that's what you see is flooded. These sugar skulls, traditional sugar skulls are everywhere. So we're constantly, as artists, being pushed farther and farther, which is great. You have to be different. You have to carve out your own niche. And now the challenge is we have a bigger audience to obviously to show our work to, but we have to be even more special and different, because there's tons of the baseline stuff, and we have to try and rise above that. And as artists, you're challenged to be different and to constantly be creating. I love that pressure, but it's a pressure, and it's there to be different and to be, rising in a sea of now, every a grocery store. I was just at Lowe's earlier, and they have sugar skull planters, things that were never you wouldn't see skulls on a rack there 10 years ago, and that kind of stuff is everywhere. So the challenge is for us to stay ahead of that and to, benefit from it, but also be challenged by it.
Yeah. If I might chime in, I think the toughest part for all of us to do this Day of the Dead work is you don't want to reinvent the wheel, right, all the time, but you want to stay true to the tradition as best you can, but also to breathe new life in it. And there's a fine line between going too far or from what's at the root of the tradition. And so, and then also, again, using it to just make money as opposed to, because we're all making a living. We all got to keep the studio lights on. But how far is it before you start kind of selling out that tradition or you're even so there's a fine line. And for me, I'm always trying to bring something fresh and new without having to, and that's what I mean by stories. The story has to resonate when I create an artwork. I can't just say, okay, I'm going to bring these two things together. I have to see a connection between the tradition and the past for me to bring on this new thing. And for me, when I do that, I feel like I've done something. I don't feel like I have, like I'm doing anything bad to the tradition, or I feel like I'm adding to it. But it's it's something that we really have to be conscious and aware of, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with Dave and Franco, but for myself, I what I do most is want to do is challenge myself to think outside the box.
Right.
Not only do Dia de Muertos, but lately I've been doing like hummingbirds and all that. But going back to Coco and the Book of Life, yes, it became too commercial, and now you go to a dollar store and you see all these products that are made, but they're made in China. But the benefit of the movie Coco that came out explains the whole beauty of the tradition and the culture and everything. And for example, after the movie came out, I was speaking at junior high school, and I was talking to do like 9 different classes. I remember the first class I walked in, the kids pointing my work, because I put my work on the bulletin boards and all that. Like Coco. So that was actually, I knew what the first question was going to be. Mm-hmm. How many of you have seen Coco? Most of them raised their hand. So they knew the tradition and the beauty and what the symbolism it is. And then in one of the classes, when it was over, one little boy raised his hand. He goes, "Do you have a question?" "Well, I'm just going to let you know, I got my grandmother's picture and we put on an ofrenda." And that right there, that child knew what the importance of what the ofrenda is. So, but yeah, it's gone commercial, but but people recognize what Dia de Muertos is now. Not because some people were like, for the advance will comment like, "Oh, your work is hideous," but let me explain to you what it means.
Yeah.
But then after that, they kind of understand. It's like, "Oh, I didn't realize that." Thinking like it was vampire, like devil stuff, but it's not.
all the stuff we've heard as skull artists, we've heard all those things.
I actually watched it with my daughter again this morning, so I'm guilty.
Yeah, Satan worshippers.
Right. Hold on, wait for a meeting.
I think one of the things that we're all sort of talking about is these opposing worldviews, right? Like this idea of death and the way that American society has dealt with it for so long, and that there's a really very fundamentally different way of looking at life. That one of the biggest parts of life is death, right? Like the moment we're born and then death. That bookend, but there's a different way that we think of finality, right? There's a different way that we think of our ancestors, and that's something that has for so long, I think, just been taken in this very Western way, rather than being able to embrace it the way that so many different cultures do, especially Mexico with Dia de los Muertos, right? And so I think that a lot of people are now turning on to this idea that we should be able to celebrate our ancestors in a different way, rather than just through like a wake or whatever the traditional way of doing things is. That there's a way that they live on through us,
exactly.
As long as we
tend to sanitize it over here and kind of sweep death under the rug.
Yeah.
And not really. And I think Mexico is really direct with death. I think because of the amount of death that they had to deal with during their Civil War and all that. I mean, the Revolutionary War and all that. So death is more of a constant. It's something that you live with, as opposed to the U.S. where we try to sweep it under the rug and sanitize it, not really deal with it, right? Not want to see it, And I think that it creates a nice balance, bringing that culture over here. And again, an opposing view. I think a nice blend might be, time for.
Well, I think Franco touched on it earlier. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just more looking at a more positive way. Americans, we don't look at death as just a negative, and this gives it a more positive view.
Yeah. And again, that positivity is healing, right? How to processing and healing and you can't, I guess it's like an alcoholic, you got to admit that you're one first, right? It's kind of, you got to embrace that death for what, and know that it's there. That's a reality that's not just going to miss us by. And I think just that idea helps us align what's important in life too. It creates a different hierarchy when you know that not everything is going to last forever, And so it makes you ask, well, what are the things that are important? And I think that's healthy, for all of us.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love that you all. Oh, go ahead, David. Sorry.
Go ahead. Well, I think Franco touched on it earlier too about PTSD. I know for me, that's been something I found myself being part of. I've done some webinars and some talks with PTSD and explaining how the holiday really matches in. It really it's been a great way to explain, and for mental health professionals that I've talked to, it's kind of bridging that gap and letting people relate the idea of remembrance and loved ones of the holiday. In the traditional way, but also just from people not in that culture. That's where I've seen so much growth from my military stuff, just from some of the work I've done and some of the conversations I've had. That's been an avenue that, Coco hasn't really played at all in, but just people coming into, seeing that kind of, understanding the actual attitude of death and how do you celebrate and how do you remember? Because it's such a personal thing, how you deal with death. And the artwork I found for me has been a way for them to understand and relate and kind of open up and share that I didn't know as an artist that I would be a conduit like that. You know, it's one of those amazing things and humbled to be part of, that I could help somebody deal with some of those aspects of grief that, you know, I knew the traditions where it came from, but to be actively part of someone's grief therapy is something I didn't imagine doing.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, again, the PTSD, I think I was there for 9/11. I saw that when I was in art grad school. I was like 8 blocks from there. So I actually could see people jumping, deciding whether they were going to, you know, jump. And I saw enough of that. And I had a lot of friends die, gang stuff when I was young and stuff, but it hit me it hit me, I didn't know it was even hitting me. And that PTSD thing was, I didn't think I was really living with it because I wasn't like a soldier or something like that, but it did affect me. It led to the kind of artwork that I'm doing today. And I've been invited to a lot of these shows. You know, I show a lot and donate to a lot of these shows that try to raise money for soldiers who do have PTSD. So definitely they've connected in that way for me, David, you know, with veterans. And sometimes I feel like that's and we don't want to, it's almost taboo to talk about death. You know, it's all around us, you know, just like life is happening, decay is also happening at the same time. And we just don't like to talk about it. It's a very taboo thing. And I remember one of the things that was making me crazy after all that 9/11 stuff is, why aren't we talking about death? Why isn't everybody freaking out? We're going to die. Why aren't we? And it's just a conversation that people don't want to have, you know? And, you know, and so I think this is kind of
in a more positive way.
It creates a space, I think, what we do. And this holiday also creates a space and allows for that kind of thing, you know?
I think in a situation like that, people just shut down. Because I remember that day,
Yeah, people don't want to talk about it. And,
I really appreciate that you all were talking about how healing this holiday is, because I think you're right. You know, it's definitely something that we shy away from. We don't talk about death enough as a part of life. You know, it's something that we can't avoid. And, you know, it's all about how we reframe it and think about it continuing on as well. So that's one of the things I love about this holiday. And I really appreciate you all sharing your personal experiences, as well as, you know, how much it impacts your art too. So with that, you know, I wish we could be together all afternoon, but I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And I can't wait to welcome you all back in person to put your altars together when we're able to reopen to the public for future Dia de los Muertos events in person. So thank you so much, artists, for joining us. I really appreciate you all taking time out of your day and sharing your art. And again, I want to remind the audience that you can see all of these artists' pieces on our Dia de los Muertos 2020 exhibit on our website, californiamuseum.org. So thank you again for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good seeing y'all.
At Franco Fresh on IG.
Bye. Always promoting.
Take care, David.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
Have a good one. Thank you.
All right, as our artists are logging off, I'm going to invite my co-host, Ernesto, back on up to introduce the next person who will be joining us on stage. Let me move on over for you. Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
great.
go for it.
Wow, that was an amazing conversation with all these amazing minds. I think that, you know, artists truly have amazing minds and in different ways that they think and see life. So that was really amazing to hear and really feel that. The whole thing about healing is awesome. But now we'd like to introduce Dinorah. I always like to introduce her as Dinorah and su guitarra. That's kind of like, you know, the name that I've given her, because for me, it's always been about Dinorah and her guitar and her voice, because it reminds me of my mother. And that's actually one of the reasons why I just fell in love with her music, because again, it's honoring my mother and my past. So this is a perfect opportunity to showcase her music. So another virtual applause for Dinorah Klingler with her amazing voice and music. Feliz Día de los Muertos.
Salías de un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Salías de un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Hermoso y brillabas, llorona, que en la Virgen te creí. Hermoso y brillabas, llorona, que en la Virgen te creí. Ay, de mi llorona, 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 de azul celeste. Ay, de mi llorona, 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 de azul celeste. Aunque la vida me cueste, llorona, no dejaré de quererte. Y aunque la vida me cueste, llorona, no dejaré de quererte. Dicen el negro, llorona, negro, pero cariñoso. Todos me dicen el negro, llorona, negro, pero cariñoso. Yo soy como el chile verde, llorona, picante, pero sabroso. Yo soy como el chile verde, llorona, picante, pero sabroso. Ay, de mi llorona, 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 llévame al río. Ay, de mi llorona, 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 llévame al río. Tápame con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío. Tápame con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío. No sé qué tienen las flores, llorona, las flores del Campo Santo. No sé qué tienen las flores, llorona, las flores del Campo Santo, que cuando las mueve el viento, llorona, parecen que están llorando, que cuando las mueve el viento, llorona, parecen que están llorando. Ay, de mi llorona, 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 de ayer y hoy. Ay, de mi llorona, 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 y ahora soy. Ayer no te conocía, Llorona, y ahora sin ti nada soy. Ayer no te conocía, Llorona, y ahora sin ti nada soy. Hello everyone. What a big pleasure for me to be here with you guys, celebrating Dia de los Muertos through our fantastic California Museum. My name is Dinorah, and I'm gonna continue playing the songs that you love. And of course, we always remember our deceased. They just went a little sooner than us. But at the end, this is what time does and how lives works for all of us. This is a beautiful song called Recuérdame, and I'm sure, for sure we do. Here we go. Recuérdame, hoy me tengo que ir, mi amor. Recuérdame, no llores, por favor. Te llevo en mi corazón y cerca me tendrás. A solas yo te cantaré, soñando en regresar. Recuérdame, aunque tenga que emigrar. Recuérdame, si mi guitarra oyes llorar. Ella con su triste canto te acompañará hasta que en mis brazos estés. Recuérdame, recuérdame, hoy me tengo que ir, mi amor. Recuérdame, no llores, por favor. Te llevo en mi corazón y cerca me tendrás. A solas yo te cantaré, soñando en regresar. Recuérdame, aunque tenga que mirar. Recuérdame, si mi guitarra oyes llorar. Ella con su triste canto te acompañará hasta que en mis brazos estés. Recuérdame, recuérdame, recuérdame. Beautiful song, ¿verdad que sí? Well, the next song is called Puño de Tierra. That means handful of sand or dirt. The song pretty much says, the day that I die, I am not gonna take anything with me. Nothing. Maybe, and just maybe, a handful of dirt. So I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna enjoy it. I am gonna love the people that I love, and I'm gonna make my friends feel happy and comfortable with me. So let's celebrate life, because the day that we go, we don't take anything with us, maybe a handful of dirt. So, puño de tierra. Yeah. Yeah. Vagando paso la vida, vas recorriendo el mundo. Si quieren que se los diga, yo soy un alma sin dueño. A mí no me falta nada, a mí la vida es un sueño. Señor. Yo tomo cuanto yo quiero, miento, soy muy sincera. Soy como las gaviotas que vuelan de puerto en puerto. Yo sé que la vida es corta, al fin que también la debo. El día que yo me muera, voy a llevarme nada. Hay que darle gusto al gusto. La vida pronto se acaba. Lo que pasó en este mundo, más el recuerdo queda. Ya muerto voy a llevarme nomás un puño de tierra. Ay, chiquito. Todo cuanto yo quiero, no miento, soy muy sincera. Soy como las gaviotas que vuelan de puerto en puerto. Yo sé que la vida es corta, al fin que también la debo. El día que yo me muera, voy a llevarme nada. Hay que darle gusto al gusto. La vida pronto se acaba. Lo que pasó en este mundo, por eso falta queda. Y a muerto voy a llevarme más un puño de tierra. Y señor. Uy. If you like these rhythms, well, this is very traditional Mexican music, as well as, you know, ballads and rancheras. But in Mexico and most of Latin America, but all these Spanish-speaking countries, we write music about real events, real successes, right? Real failures, real about life, what life really is. And of course, that is part of life. So when you visit these beautiful panteones or cemeteries and you see the altars, what we're really doing is being in touch with the people that we love and left before us. I would like to say, it's kind of singing, but no, not really, it's a poem written by one of the emperors of the Aztec Empire. This is the poet Netzahualcoyotl. And this beautiful short poem that he wrote in Nahuatl speaks about when a son or a daughter, when a child talks to his mother or her mother about death. And you will see, because I'm gonna say this poem in Nahuatl, in Spanish, and in English, okay? Nonantzine ani Netzahualcoyotzin de Netzahualcoyotl. Nonantzin ikuak nimikis motlecuilpan xenestoca. Ikuak tias titlascal chihuas nompanopampa tishoca. Iwan tlakal nixtlatlanish, nonantzin tleca tishoca. Xiquilwish caxoxowil cawitl. Iwan nibne xoxoctia. Ika xexain capopoca. Madre, cuando yo muera, entiérrame en tu hogar. Y al hacer el pan, espera. Y por mí ponte a llorar. Y si uno en saber se empeña la causa de tu pesar, diles que es verde la leña y el humo te hace llorar. I die, bury me close to your house. And when you make bread, just wait for a second and think of me. And if anybody asks you, what is the cause of your pain and your sorrow, tell them the wood is still green and wet, and that smoke makes you cry. Let me tell you, I learned this beautiful poem when I was 5 years old. I never forgot because it's so beautiful. Okay, so let's continue with this travel in the time of music that we enjoy in Mexico, singing for our departed family members. But of course, we always have to sing Cielito Lindo because this is a happy song. This is a song that tells you, sing and don't cry, because only singing is how you make your heart happy. Ready? Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, vienen bajando un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando. De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, vienen bajando un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ese lunar que tienes, cielito lindo, junto a la boca, no se lo des a nadie, cielito lindo, que a mí me toca. Ese lunar que tienes, cielito lindo, junto a la boca, no se lo des a nadie, cielito lindo, que a mí me toca. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Y señor. You like it? Well, it's a great song, right? We always enjoy this music. Okay, when I'm gonna say goodbye to you with this beautiful song, a bolero called Amor Eterno, that means endless love. No matter that you parted, I always gonna love you. Tú eres la tristeza y de mis ojos que lloran en silencio por tu amor. Me miro en el espejo y veo en mi rostro el tiempo que he sufrido por tu adiós. Obligo a que te olvide el pensamiento, pues siempre estoy pensando en el ayer. Prefiero estar dormida que despierta de tanto que me duele que no estés. Como quisiera que tú vivieras, que tus ojitos jamás se hubieran cerrado nunca y estar mirándolos, amor eterno, inolvidable, tarde o temprano estaré contigo para seguir amándonos. Como quisiera que tú vivieras, que tus ojitos jamás se hubieran cerrado nunca y estar mirándolos, amor eterno, inolvidable, tarde o temprano estaré contigo para seguir amándonos. Gracias. Feliz Día de los Muertos. Mucho gusto. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Dinorah.
Gracias.
I'd like to say Dinorah y su guitarra. How she represents culture, and as I mentioned, that her image represents what I remember of my mother. My mother used to love to sing. She always had her guitar, and it was just an amazing memory. And like I said, she kind of represents that image for me for Dia de los Muertos. So
Ay,
amazing.
es un honor para mí. It's an honor for me. Thank you so very much, Ernesto.
Thank you for joining us, Dinorah.
Thank you, Dinorah.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Happy Dia de los Muertos.
All right. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone. We were honored to have some spectacular artists. We had some wonderful musicians, traditional dancers, and culinary artists too, who all blessed us with their talents. So before we say goodbye, I did want to ask you, what was one of your favorite moments of the day?
Well, truly, all of it, right? I mean, there's so much about every part of it has so much to do with Dia de los Muertos. But one of the things that I truly enjoyed listening to was Maria Miranda's and her, not perspective, but really the knowledge that she has about our ancient past and how she chooses to honor our past by almost living in the past and educating, so that we can go into our future. It's such a big connection there that that's why I love to talk about that. And Maria just has an amazing way with her words to help us understand the true definition of Dia de los Muertos and what it represents.
Yeah. And, we are so honored to have her share that history and that living history as well, right? Because it continues on. And, those are the kind of messages we love to share at California Museum. And, I want to thank everyone in our audience today for joining us for the Fiesta at Home. I want to remind you all to visit our website at californiamuseum.org. And you can check out our latest online exhibit, Dia de los Muertos 2020, where you can see a lot of the artists' work that we talked to today. You can also find an activity kit with 4 hands-on Dia de los Muertos crafts to get you ready to celebrate from home on November 1st and 2nd. And lastly, I want to invite everyone to visit us when we reopen safely to the public on November 5th. We cannot be more excited to have you all come join us again. We have new hours, admission prices, and safety protocols. And with that, I do want to say thank you so much, Ernesto, for being my co-host. I'm so honored to spend the afternoon with you.
Likewise, it's truly been an amazing event, like every year, and I'm looking forward to next year. So keep your eyes out and get ready for next year's event, because it has to be better than this year. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yes. So thank you all again. We hope that you all are safe and happy at home, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Dia de los Muertos is a celebration that dates back to the Aztec times, when it was believed that the deceased embark on a journey, eventually leading them to Mictlan, the highest level of the underworld, where they would finally rest in peace. People gather in cemeteries and bring the deceased favorite foods and music. It is a way to celebrate the time we had with our loved ones and keep their memory alive. The cemeteries are filled with laughter, mariachis, food, lights, and flowers, and it's a celebration of life.